Welcome back to the deep dive. We have a stack of research today that I think is going to make you look at your web browser a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
We spend all this time obsessing over the front end of the internet, the user interface, the slick animations, the beautiful fonts.
Right, the human side of things.
Exactly. We treat the web like it's this digital art gallery made for our eyes. But there's this massive infrastructure shift happening right now, largely invisible to us, that suggests the internet is actually, well, it's splitting in two.
It really is. And honestly, it's one of those shifts that seems super technical on the surface, but once you peel back the layers, you realize it changes the fundamental economics of how information moves online.
Right. And the catalyst for today's deep dive is a specific announcement from Cloudflare, dropped just recently, February 2026. They launched a feature called Markdown for Agents.
Yeah, and Markdown, to most
Mhm.
people, that just sounds like, what, a clearance sale.
Exactly, but this is actually about the plumbing of the web.
It is. So to set the stage, we have to look at this startling observation from the data. For, what, 30 years? The web was a library for people. You go to a URL, you look at a page, you read.
Simple.
But the traffic patterns are shifting aggressively. A huge and growing chunk of web traffic now.
Yeah.
It isn't human at all. It's AI agents.
It's the bots, the assistants, the
Okay.
crawlers.
It's software acting on our behalf. And here is the core friction that this new feature addresses. The web wasn't built for them.
It was built for eyes. It was built with HTML.
Hypertext markup language,
Right.
which is designed to tell a browser how to display something. It's full of click here buttons, navigation bars, massive scripts for tracking, pop-ups,
The sign up for a newsletter pop-up.
all of that. And it's great for you and me. It makes the experience engaging. But when an AI agent, like a research bot or a coding assistant, tries to read that, it is incredibly inefficient.
It's like trying to read a textbook, but every page is covered in stickers, glitter, and, pop-up origami.
That is a perfect analogy. The AI is wasting computing power just trying to find the actual text amidst all the code that's just there to make the page look pretty.
And in the world of AI, wasting power means wasting money.
A lot of money.
So today we are going to unpack this Markdown for Agents feature. We're going to look at how the industry is trying to switch the language of the web from HTML to Markdown for these bots, why that saves a fortune in something called tokens, and ultimately, are we moving toward a world where the visual web just becomes a legacy artifact?
That's the mission.
Okay, let's start with the context. For the last, 2 decades, if you ran a website, a blog, a store, whatever your god was Google, you worshipped at the altar of SEO.
Search engine optimization.
Yeah.
The entire game was discovery. You structured your data so a crawler would find it, index it, and put you on a results page so a human would click that blue link.
But that model's breaking, isn't it? I mean, I don't even click links half the time anymore. I just read the summary the AI gives me.
You and everyone else. We're moving from SEO to what Cloudflare is calling agent optimization. In 2026, the user might not be the person sitting at the computer. The user is the AI agent acting on their behalf.
So if I ask an AI, find me the best hiking boots for wide feet, that AI goes out, reads 10 websites, synthesizes the answer, and just gives it to me.
And you never visited those sites.
Which is a terrifying prospect for publishers who rely on ad impressions. But let's put a pin in the business model for a second and stick to the technical side. You mentioned the web is heavy. How bad is it really?
Oh, it's bad. I mean, modern web development has become incredibly complex. To render a slick, modern web page, you're loading CSS files for styling, JavaScript for interactivity, tracking scripts, analytics.
The pop-up that asks you to accept cookies, the video that autoplays in the corner.
All of that is just noise to an AI. An AI agent wants the raw facts. It wants the text. When you force an AI to parse a modern HTML page, you are forcing it to dig through a mountain of digital trash to find the nugget of gold.
And this brings us to the cost. Because in the world of large language models, reading isn't free. We pay for this in tokens. Can you
Wow.
break that down for us? Because tokens feels like arcade currency.
It is the currency of compute, really.
Yeah.
A token is roughly 3/4 of a word. Every time an AI reads a token or generates a token, it costs processing power and memory.
Okay.
And the source material uses this fantastic analogy. They say feeding raw HTML to an AI is like paying by the word to read the packaging instead of the letter inside.
I love that. You're paying for the cardboard box.
You are, and the markup is insane. Let's look at the actual math Cloudflare shared because it's a real aha moment. Let's take a simple header on a website, just the words "about us."
Okay, 2 words. Simple.
In Markdown, which is just a very simple way of formatting text, that header is represented by 2 hashtags and the words "about us." That's it. That costs the AI roughly 3 tokens to process.
Dirt cheap.
Now, look at the HTML equivalent on a modern site. You don't just have the words. You have an H2 tag. But it's never just a tag, is it? It's H2 class section title text bolded about us,
And that's probably wrapped inside a div, which is inside another div.
which is inside a section surrounded by scripts. And the AI has to read all of it, all those brackets, all those class names, all that structural code, just to get to about us.
So what's the cost difference?
Cloudflare estimates that the HTML version of that simple header burns 12 to 15 tokens.
Wow. So we are talking about a 400% to 500% markup on the cost just to read a headline.
And that scales up. Cloudflare used their own blog post, the very one announcing this feature, as a case study. They ran the numbers. In its original human-facing HTML form, that single page represented over 16,000 tokens of input.
16,000. And if I'm running a model with a context window of, say, 32,000 tokens, that one article just ate half my memory.
Exactly. But when they converted that same page to Markdown, it dropped to 3,150 tokens.
That is an 80% reduction.
An 80% reduction in cost, in processing time, in memory usage. If you're running an AI agent that needs to read 1,000 pages a day or 1,000,000 pages a day, that difference isn't just efficiency. It's the difference between a viable product and burning through your venture capital on cloud bills.
Okay, so the incentive is crystal clear. Markdown is better for bots, it's cleaner, it's cheaper, it's strictly hierarchical. But here's the problem. The internet is already built. There are billions of pages of HTML out there. We aren't going to convince the entire world to rewrite their websites in Markdown overnight just to please the robots.
No, and that's the brilliance of this specific solution. Cloudflare isn't asking website owners to rewrite anything. They're using their position in the middle of the network to do it on the fly.
So walk me through the mechanics of this. I'm an AI agent. I'm knocking on the door of a website. How do I ask for the light version? Do I have a secret password?
Sort of. It uses a standard part of web protocol called content negotiation. It's been around forever, but it's being used in a really clever way here. When a browser visits a site, it sends a header, basically a little note attached to the request that says accept.txtml. It's telling the server, I speak HTML, please send me that.
Like ordering off a menu, I'll have the visual plate, please.
Exactly. But now, these AI agents, and Cloudflare mentions widely used ones like Claude Code or Open Code, they can change that order. They can send a header that says accept.txtmarkdown.
I'll have the text-only plate.
And if that website is sitting behind Cloudflare and the owner has flipped this new switch, Cloudflare intercepts that order. It detects the request, grabs the HTML from the server, instantly strips away the CSS, the scripts, the navigation bars, converts the core content into Markdown, and serves that back to the bot.
So the website owner doesn't actually have to maintain a separate Markdown file.
No. It happens at the edge of the network. The server sends HTML, Cloudflare translates it, the bot receives Markdown. It's seamless.
That is incredibly slick. But I want to play devil's advocate for a second. You mentioned stripping away the design. Sometimes the design is the content, right? What if I have a chart or a complex table or an image that is crucial to the story? Does Markdown just delete all that?
That's a valid concern. Markdown is text-based. It handles tables okay, but it's not going to give you a pie chart. It might give you the alt text description of the chart or a link to the image. So yes, there is information loss.
Okay.
But you have to remember who the audience is.
The audience is a large language model.
Right. And unless that model is using a vision capability, which is way more expensive and slower, it can't see the chart anyway. It relies on the text description. So in many ways, Markdown is just cutting to the chase.
So it's a trade-off. You lose the visuals, but you gain speed and clarity on the text.
Exactly. And for 90% of the web news, documentation, blogs, product descriptions, the text is what matters.
There's another layer to this technical handshake that I found really interesting in the notes. It's not just about the text, it's about the metadata. Cloudflare is adding some extra headers to the response that act like, almost like nutritional labels for the AI.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. When the converted response comes back, it includes a header called x-markdown-tokens.
Which tells the bot what?
It tells the bot the estimated size of the document in tokens before the bot even has to process it fully.
Why is that important? Why does the bot care about the size?
It comes back to that context window we mentioned. AI models have a limited short-term memory. If an article is 50,000 tokens long and the bot only has a 30,000 token window, It's going to crash,
Or it has to just chop off the text. It forgets the beginning of the article by the time it reaches the end.
which sounds like a recipe for hallucinations. It is. So by seeing the x-markdown tokens count up front, the bot can say, whoa, this is too big. I need to chop this up into pieces, or I need to summarize this first. It allows for planning. It makes the AI smarter.
There's another header, though, that feels a bit more, let's say, political. Content signal. This touches on the huge debate we are seeing right now about data scraping.
It does. This is the consent layer. Right now, AI scraping is the Wild West. Bots take everything. Publishers are upset. It's messy.
So how does this header help? Is it a lock?
It's not a lock, it's a signal. It allows the website owner to explicitly state their preferences. The header might look like I train yes, or search no, or I input yes.
So I can say, you can use this to answer search queries, but you absolutely cannot use this to train your next foundation model.
Precisely. It allows creators to express nuances. It's moving us from implicit scraping, where bots just grab whatever they can, to explicit negotiation. It signals, I am a willing participant in the AI ecosystem, but here are my terms.
But will the bots actually respect that? I mean, a header isn't a firewall. A bad actor could just ignore it and scrape the data anyway.
That is the million-dollar question. But in web standards, good actors usually respect the signals. Google respects robots.txt. The hope is that the major AI companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, will respect these content signals because they need a sustainable ecosystem. They don't want to get sued into oblivion.
Fair point. Now, Cloudflare is massive. They power a huge chunk of the internet. But what about the DIY crowd? If I'm a developer building my own scraper, or I have a site that isn't on Cloudflare, is this just a walled garden feature?
Not entirely. Cloudflare is making the tools available too. If you are a developer, they have Workers AI, which is their serverless platform.
Yeah.
And you can call a function AI.toMarkdown.
So I can feed it any messy HTML string and get clean markdown back.
Yes. And for the really difficult stuff, those single-page applications where the content doesn't even exist until JavaScript runs.
The ones that usually break simple scrapers because the page is just a blank white screen until the code loads.
Right. For those, they're offering a browser rendering API. It basically spins up a headless browser, a browser without a screen, loads the page, lets the JavaScript run, renders the content, and then converts the result to Markdown.
So the toolkit is there for developers to build their own agent-optimized pipelines, but I want to zoom out to the trend line. Cloudflare has this tool called Radar, where they publish data on global internet traffic. What are they seeing? Is this actually happening, or is it just a niche experiment?
It's definitely happening. They added a new metric to Radar called content type, and they can actually track how many requests are specifically asking for Markdown versus HTML.
So we can watch the rise of the machines in real time.
We can. They can filter by specific bots. For example, the sources mention OAI Search Bot, which is the crawler used by ChatGPT's search features. We can see exactly how often it is asking for the Markdown version.
That is fascinating. It validates that this isn't just Cloudflare trying to make a product happen. The demand is coming from the AI companies. They want this data in Markdown.
And website owners are starting to provide it.
Speaking of which, if I am a listener running a business site or a documentation hub, and I am on Cloudflare, how hard is this to turn on? Are we talking about a complex integration with my dev team?
It's laughably simple. As of the beta launch in February 2026, it's literally a toggle. You go to your dashboard, find Markdown for Agents under Quick Actions, and click on.
One click.
One click. It's available for Pro, Business, and Enterprise plans, and also for their SaaS customers.
It feels like one of those high-leverage moves. If you turn this on, suddenly your content is 80% cheaper for an AI to consume. That has to increase the likelihood that your content gets cited or used in an answer.
I would argue it's the single highest ROI click you can make right now if you care about AI visibility.
Yeah.
If your competitor's site costs 16,000 tokens to read and yours costs 3,000, and the AI is optimized for efficiency, guess who gets read first?
That's a cynical but probably accurate take. The algorithm likes cheap data.
It's just economics.
I want to spend the last few minutes here on that bifurcation idea we started with, because this feels like a watershed moment. We are effectively splitting the web into two distinct layers.
We are. You have the visual layer, immersive, interactive, full of videos and layouts for humans. And then underneath it, running in parallel, is the structured markdown layer, dry, efficient, purely informational for agents.
It raises a provocative question about the future of web design, doesn't it? If I know that 50% of my traffic is actually bots reading the Markdown version, do I stop caring so much about the visual design?
Or do you design for the Markdown? Do you start writing your content in a way that is optimized for an LLM to summarize, rather than for a human to enjoy? We've spent 20 years optimizing for human psychology, colors, layout, emotional imagery. Now we might have to optimize for machine logic.
Agent optimization again.
Yeah.
But let's push it further. If the agents get really good at summarizing, do humans stop visiting the visual web altogether?
That is the legacy fear.
Explain that.
Well, think about vinyl records. We still have them. They offer a premium, nostalgic, high-fidelity experience. But for getting music into our ears efficiently, we use streaming. The visual web might become the vinyl record.
Wow.
You visit it when you want the experience of the brand. But if you just want to know what are the specs of this camera or what is the return policy, you will never see the website. You'll just get the answer from the agent.
Right. The visit is dead. The ingestion is the new metric.
Exactly. A website used to be a destination. You went to nytimes.com. In this new model, the website is just a data source. It's a feeder for the AI.
Which brings us back to that business model problem I pinned earlier. If I'm just a data source and no human sees my ads and no human buys my subscription, how do I get paid?
That is the friction that this technology doesn't solve yet. That's the elephant in the room. The content signals we talked about might be the first step toward a solution. Maybe eventually you get paid for the training data or the search citation. But right now, we are building the infrastructure for a world where the machine is the primary consumer, without fully knowing how the economics will catch up.
It's a brave new world. We're building express lanes for robots and hoping they pay the toll.
That's a fantastic way to put it. But
Yeah.
looking at the adoption of Markdown, the robots are definitely speeding up.
Well, to our listeners, this is one to watch. If you have a digital footprint, ask yourself, is it just pretty to look at, or is it agent ready? Because the agents are knocking, and they clearly prefer Markdown.
They certainly do.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you in the next one.